Right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So welcome and good afternoon to everyone. If we haven't met, I'm Erin Maney, and I'm the Manager of Communications and Community Engagement for SUNY Online. It's my pleasure to welcome a dynamic panel of Brockport folks with us today. I'm going to do a brief introduction to each of them, and then we'll get started. So Dr. Mary Jo Orzech is the Scholarly Communications Librarian at SUNY Brockport's Drake Memorial Library. She coordinates the campus OER program and supports faculty open access and open pedagogy. Nicole Baker is the research and instruction librarian at SUNY Brockport's Drake Memorial Library. Her research interests include digital literacy, open educational resources, and universal design principles. Jennifer Little Kegler is a reference and instruction librarian at Drake Memorial Library, where she's worked since 2005. Her research interests include information literacy practices and faculty librarian collaborations, including the integration of technology and OER in courses. Dr. Kathy Olmstead is an associate professor in education and human development at SUNY Brockport, where she teaches literacy courses. Her research interests include inclusive children's literature and homeschool literacy connections. Virginia Orzel is a professor of journalism, broadcasting, and public relations. Her interests include all aspects of filmmaking, from medical documentaries to fiction, and she's currently building her first visual novel game, which I would love to know more about. That's fascinating. Dr. Jennifer Wood is an associate professor of social work in the Department of Social Work at Brockport, and she's been using OER since 2019. Her academic interests include DEIJ, accessibility policy, and community organizing. Dr. Zhang is a professor of special education in the Department of Education and Human Development and the interim chair of the Department of Education Administration at SUNY Brockport, and she's been using OER in her teaching since 2016. Another individual who is not on the call but has been part of this is Dr. Shirin Sultana, an assistant professor at Brockport in the Department of Social Work. She's been using OER since 2022, and her research focuses on social support, coping, and mental health of underserved and vulnerable families and children. So what a great diversity of backgrounds you all represent. We're really interested to hear what you're sharing today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Erin. Very happy to be here with a wonderful group of colleagues from SUNY Brockport. I would like to I want to make sure I'm sharing the screen all right, and I think that if that's all right, I'm just going to move right through. We have a wonderful group that we want to introduce you to in just a minute. As part of this, we're going to start out by telling you just a little bit about SUNY Brockport. Just as a leveling, we just want to make sure that you all know that we're coming from public comprehensive university. It's part of the state university system. We offer undergraduate, master's, and new doctoral of nursing practice degree. Our students are primarily drawn from upstate New York. That's between Rochester and Buffalo, New York, as well as the surrounding region. We are one of 64 campuses as part of the SUNY system, and we're very lucky to have been part of the OER program since 2016, SUNY-wide, which has saved over $100 million in student cost savings, but has also done so much more. And that's what we're really here to tell you about today, how the OER landscape is evolving and moving and changing in new and exciting ways. Many of our subjects that have been using OER include education, social work, physics, nursing, and other subjects. So the evolving OER landscape that we're really thinking has some wonderful benefits that we want to emphasize with you all today. It really has to do with the idea that OER is really moving and pushing boundaries and allowing open education in new and different ways for our students. It's really becoming something where a number of open practices can be built and other kinds of learning strategies can be built on an open educational foundation, including things like active learning, engaged learning, global learning, service learning. The experiential kind of learning that comes from not just consuming content, but also creating content. From non-disposable assignments, we'll be talking about, as well as many of the components of information literacy and other literacies. So we think these are all exciting developments that are really extending and broadening open traditional open educational resources in general, and allowing all kinds of new and different kinds of ways. I'm always interested in seeing how far our faculty are pushing these things. Our faculty who have been with us for a long time, as well as some of the new faculty who are just getting started with OER, and really finding different approaches and different ways to bring this to the students and enhance their learning. So we'll be walking through this with a number of folks in turn. Our first person up is Dr. Zhang, who's going to be telling us about an exciting project that's going on right now, of course, with artificial intelligence and OER. And so I'm going to ask Jay to take it away.
Thank you very much, Iron. Thank you very much, Mary Jo, for the beautiful introduction. And together with me, who have been working on this AI-powered study tutoring application, Dr. Ning Yu, Associate Professor of Computer Science, Dr. Sandeep Mitra, Professor of Computer Science, together with their students, Laura, Liam, and students in the Association of Computer Machinery Special Interest Group in Artificial Intelligence Student Chapter. That's a long name. So ACM CGA Student Chapter. And last semester, we worked together on the students and professors in the Department of Computing Sciences created a AI-empowered study tutoring application. And my students in the Introduction to Students with Disabilities course implemented this and piloted this system and provided some feedback. So today I'm going to talk about that. And related to the OER, it's not only about saving students money. Since 2016, when I joined Mary Jo and the team on adapting OER in my courses, for my Intro to Special Ed course, I have saved the students about $71,900. And keep in mind, the special ed textbook is not expensive as some of our other disciplines. It's about $100 per textbook. So the amount saved for our students definitely brings some benefits. And also, the OER provided some flexibility with the content information, like it allowed us to reuse, remix, revise, and also redistribute the information, which allow me to collaborate with my colleagues in computing sciences and do this AI pilot. And what we did was, in my Intro to Special Ed, I created an autism module together with other modules and provided the students team, the CS students team, all relevant information, including my teaching materials, the questions, as well as the answer key and the rubric. And the CS students develop this application for my students, and my students have 2 attempts. The first attempt is that they answer the questions, and AI, once they submit their answers, the AI will provide immediate and individualized and targeted feedback specifically tailored to their answers, as well as automated grading using a rubric that I will show you. And my students then do a second attempt with the revised answers and reflection, as well as their self-assessment based on the provided feedback. Then I came in again and review my students' second attempt and then provide further feedback if needed, as well as the final grades. So Mary Jo, if you can. Yeah, thank you. So this is the assessment rubric, which I used for the alternative grading, which is different from the traditional percentage or points grades. The AI and my students and I will use this rubric to give the students different levels, satisfactory, improvement needed, or not accessible, 3 categories. And then we go from there for my students. And we did get a lot of positive feedback from my students. For example, a lot of them said it's very helpful and they appreciate the accurate AI feedback because it's instead of like using ChatGPT, for example, to give them the feedback was basically based on the database I provided with my instructional materials. And my students also appreciate the quick insights for improvement. And also, of course, they also appreciate the second opportunity to improve their work and streamline the submission process. For a lot of them, the process was very smooth. And the overall sentiment is that they appreciate the concept, and also some of them provided some suggestions. For example, they want more specific feedback. So AI will say, please elaborate more. And then the AI also point to where they can improve their work. And some of the students were not happy with just like the elaboration piece. And there were a couple of technical glitches at the beginning, but then the computer science students were great to modify along the way. So hopefully this semester we will create a more enhanced application which will be applicable for my students, as well as the biology professor is also going to join us to implement this system. So that's me. And next I will invite my colleague Jennifer Kegler to share more about how to use it, OER. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Jennifer Kegler. I'm one of the librarians on this call, and I think one of the wonderful things about OER, it's enabled librarians and faculty to partner together in ways beyond instruction, which is sort of how I got involved initially, helping with information literacy and basic research needs of the class. But something that I have worked on with Jay, and I think she's the only one on the call, Ginny a little bit, finding OER information that can be embedded in their courses. And I've done that by using web pages, articles, books, not so much, unless actually open textbooks perhaps. And one of the advantages, we kind of know the landscape of where to look for some of this material, and it helps us to inform our faculty of what we have that's available. Librarians also I've taught research workshops and courses, or during the pandemic, we switched to online modules right in the middle of the semester, but then some of that work has continued as a lot more courses have gone online. And that's something that your librarian or librarians in your system may be able to do. In my case, and actually most of the librarians here, it has led to scholarly outputs. We have done presentations with obviously like this one, but also on a national level, and we have written book chapters and articles. So that has been really nice as a librarian to have someone to collaborate with outside of the library and actually get to work right with the students directly. We also have done we also can do OER design and production. We write write new OER, or we can recommend them in various formats. And one thing that I've been heavily involved in is our COIL program, which is our collaborative online international learning. And sometimes we have to make sure that when they're collaborating with students in other countries, that they have access to these. And that's where OER can be a real advantage. And it also has let us, we have done some research guides, and I'll let Mary Jo one more. So this is an example of one that I did for specifically country and culture information. For COIL, they needed to do some background research on the country with which they were partnering. And these were things that are accessible in other countries. Usually, we sometimes had to test with the faculty. And this was a way to get our students to more reliable information, because that was something we kept running into, where they would cite a blog or they wouldn't look up information about the country. And this is just one example of one of our guides. We do these for all of our subjects here on campus. And then this one is specific to COIL and was designed with faculty, a couple of faculty here. And I also had worked with some of our kinesiology and sports studies programs have done COIL a few times as well. So we are here to help you if you are faculty. We love to work on this. So I will pass it to, I'm not sure who's next. There we go.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. My name is Kathy Olmstead, and I'm going to talk a little bit about an example of a partnership with a librarian. I worked with Logan Rath. He couldn't be here today. I think he's in Mexico or someplace warm and wonderful. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our new partnership. It's still developing. And so my students that are in this OER partnership are master students. So they're graduate students. Many of them are working in classrooms as full-time teachers or as substitute teachers. So they have a lot of practical knowledge. And we are working together to use students to create to author with students an OER handbook. And the handbook is based on the New York State Big Six literacy skills and competencies. So in our area of literacy, New York State last year came out with these new guidelines on focusing instruction for classroom teachers on oral language, phonological awareness, phonics, comprehension, fluency, and vocabulary. So in this partnership, that's what our students, our graduate students, our teachers are focusing on. Mary Jo, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So our students, it's a very scenario-based class. So they're given like a real world problem, from schools and classrooms. So their scenario is that some of the school computers got hacked from downloading things from Teachers Pay Teachers. So you and the other literacy coaches in your school have to provide a professional development for new teachers about the Big Six literacy skills. And you're going to create a handbook of activities that new teachers can use in their classroom based on those Big Six skills and competencies. Mary Jo, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we provided them with a template, and I made up an example using a very simple literacy concept of turn and talk and how powerful that is to promote oral language. And I showed them how to connect to scholarship and research, like why is this important? How is it meaningful in the classroom? Then I described the strategy in action, like as a teacher, how would I go about using it? I gave some examples and teacher tips. And so basically our students, our master students, got to give us some ideas from their classroom aligned with those Big Six. And so they created templates. And Logan is helping input. I'm editing the student work to make sure that the scholarship is aligned and everything makes sense and is appropriate. And Logan is putting it in the format of a press book. And so we can go to the next slide, please. And so, we're in this process. We're thinking about not only using this with our graduate students, so they'll have an access to this resource that has over 200 entries, so 200 activities aligned with the New York State skills and competencies. But we're also going to use it as a resource for undergraduate students so they don't have to buy a literacy strategies book, saving them money. And so it's a nice connection. Every semester, we're going to do a different version of it. This semester, we're doing the family literacy connection. So our students, our teachers have to come up with activities to increase, connection from families to school based on those Big Six. So we're very excited about it. And it is a work in progress, but we're thankful for our collaboration with our librarians. And our next person is Jennifer W.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Wood. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Social Work, teaching in the undergraduate social work program. I have been using OER since 2019. The first class that I had moved to all OER was our DEIJ class. And that was so successful. Students have really appreciated it. They engage more with the material. Then we moved our macro social work. So that's organizational and community practice. That class was moved to all OER and open access in 2022. So as of this year, I was able to convince a couple of my colleagues who have been a little more resistant to the use of OER, and we moved our policy and policy analysis class to a complete OER and open access pedagogy. That's been working pretty well for the most part. Well, the barrier we're encountering is that social work as a discipline hasn't produced a lot of OER material, and especially they have done almost nothing in the realm of social welfare policy. So that has been a challenge, finding the materials that convey what we want them to, but that are accessible to our students. Something that's very exciting that's come out of it is one of my students, who is a junior in our program, really connected with the OER aspect of the class he took with me last semester. He's in that policy class this semester, and he was trying to figure out a way to contribute to OER himself. And as well as someone who is politically and socially active, he wanted a way to use his experience as a post-traditional student. He's in his 40s, with children, as somebody who wants to engage in social action. So starting in the fall semester, I'm going to be doing an independent study with him, and we're going to be collaborating to develop a sort of guide and handbook to a social work student wanting to engage in social action and social protest. We're going to collaborate on that and hopefully publish it as an OER resource for other social work programs. So fingers crossed that that works out well, and I'll, have something to show for that as of next semester.
Thank you, Jennifer. That sounds so exciting to me. I'm really delighted that that's going forward.
I'm
I
thrilled
want
to I'm thrilled to have such a motivated student.
That's terrific. What an incredible role our students are playing. Absolutely, in contributing and in creating content, not just consuming. So the next person I wanted to next person who couldn't be with us today but did send along some slides, and I wanted to just walk through them, is another one of our wonderful social work faculty, Dr. Shirin Sultana, who is in the process of developing a new course. And right from the ground floor, she's been basically wanting to move this into an OER realm. A lot of it has some background with the UN sustainability goals, but she's really looking at global social work and social development, where she wants to really consider things like global social work concepts and issues, some of the theories and some of the development, some of the organizational interventions that can be developed. She has identified learning objectives, so she is growing her OER from her student learning objectives of ethical and professional behavior, as well as research, engagement, assessment, and moving through to interventions. It sounds like a wonderful course, and I'm excited for her in terms of being able to move this forward. Oh, I just lost my slides. Okay, so let's just put these right back where we were. Okay. The OER integration that she's working on includes peer-reviewed articles, of course, websites, documentaries, podcasts. We've been working with her. I've been sending her sites as I've been able to find them. Of course, these are Creative Commons from institutional repositories and open platforms. The idea that they're really being used to support her course learning goals makes so much sense, and of course, including things like active learning and open pedagogy in general. There have been challenges along the way, and so of course the use of multiple sources, finding quality materials, and ensuring accessibility. There is also the wonderful opportunity for collaboration, and that's going to is still being developed. So I'm very excited to see where that's going to lead us in the future. And at this point, it also leads us right into the idea of building awareness. And for this, I'm going to turn to another one of our librarians, Nicole Baker, who will walk us through a little bit about how our campus is trying to keep this going forward.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Nicole Baker. I'm one of the research and instruction librarians also at Drake Library. So we've been looking a lot at kind of continuing our, I guess, marketing and also educational efforts about OER on campus. And this has kind of come out of a couple things, just identifying whether it's misconceptions about OER or lack of awareness or a kind of understanding of what OER is. We are finding occasionally that, just in conversations with faculty members, that a lot of faculty members actually are using open educational resources and just might not be aware of it. So making sure that we can also kind of help faculty better understand what it is and if it would fit into their classes. So we're kind of doing a lot of different efforts in a lot of different formats, depending on the audience, whether we're trying to reach students, faculty members, administrators, community members. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Ginny Orzel, if you go to the next slide, who's going to talk about some of our kind of promotional video efforts that we've been taking on.
Oops, oh, I did it again.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm so sorry. Wait, we'll get there. There we go.
So last year, we thought that it would be good to create a video just to make awareness to faculty, because the percentage of faculty at Brockport are not getting involved in OER. And I went around asking people why they didn't want to get involved. And many of them said it's because there's no, books, my book isn't, I've gone to search and I can't find my book anywhere as an open source book. But in this video that we did, we're talking about exactly what Jay is doing, where Jay isn't using a book, but it's, it's finding articles. And some people were expressing about how they were getting discouraged because it was hard to find things. And so we were really trying to promote, come find a librarian. We are here to help you. It's kind of going back to old school. There was a time when, people were able to search, faculty were able to search and find things, and now things are getting really complicated again. And so we really, really need to get back to our librarians, and that's their skill set. So we're just talking about what is it, how do you get involved, how does it benefit the students? And this year we're working on a couple of videos, and just finished a rough draft of one about how librarians can help. And Mary Jo and Nicole and Jennifer are all the stars of it. And we just need to grab a couple of visuals to show what the librarians are talking about. And Jay is going to be starring with some other faculty member about how to be able to find your resources. And we're trying to just basically cut down on the fear, cut down on the barriers that are stopping people, and showing them this year, step by step, hey, it's okay. You don't have to do this alone. I know many faculty like Jay, they had to figure this out on their own. And all of a sudden we realized, hey, we can bring librarians and faculty together. So we're trying to build a bridge that has been kind of separated between faculty and the librarians, to try and say, hey, together we can make this happen. And let's show you some videos. And it's really not that hard, because, if you're having troubles, call Mary Jo, call Nicole, call Jennifer, and they're all going to help you.
Perfect. Thank you. If you go to the next slide. So just kind of an overview of some of the efforts. I know Jennifer mentioned earlier that we have a few LibGuides, so I'll drop a link into the chat. One of the big LibGuides that we kind of updated a lot at the beginning of I think last semester we published it, was just kind of updating a lot of information about, having a homepage of what is OER, what does it even mean when we're talking about it, and kind of identifying some of the key phrases that are thrown around a lot, like the R's and different things like that, to identify a lot of this information that sometimes isn't always found in one place. And then we created, I think, just the most useful guide. So like how to find OER, what are some of the links that can be useful to navigate, like Jenny said, that there's OER in multiple different places, right? There's not just one repository that faculty that can go to. But if you want to poke around on your own, we gave links to that, how to evaluate OER, and a lot of kind of professional development opportunities as they're coming up. And something else that we implemented in that was just an easy kind of contact form to get in contact with a librarian, so that if you're looking through these pages and you get overwhelmed, you can easily click request a consultation, set up a meeting with a librarian to kind of go through that together. We've done different workshops and events, whether it's through our CELT, doing workshops with faculty, whether it's hands-on unveiling the new LibGuide, kind of explaining and walking through it, or having hands-on activities so that we can work with faculty members so that they can start kind of exploring with a librarian there what is available. We've done some targeted faculty outreach. So we do have a library liaison program in our library. So each department is attached to a librarian. So working with our other librarians to make sure that everybody's aware of the help that librarians can offer, because you can never say it enough times. And with that, we've also been trying to increase kind of our social media aspect as well. I think you saw on the first slide, we've been playing around with some memes, some polls, different ways that we can interact with, whether it's faculty members or students, as we've seen a lot of, students getting interested and involved when they learn more about open educational resources. So that's been so far what our efforts have been. I think moving forward, we're going to continue this. The more that we can get this information out in front of the different audiences and the different formats, whether it's videos, text and LibGuides, social media, events, flyers on campus. I think we're moving forward. We're hoping to also continue to kind of highlight the work that our faculty are doing, because there are so many exciting projects that keep popping up.
And I just want to, give a shout out to the librarians, because when you say, you can click on to meet up with a librarian. When I was making this last video that, hopefully it'll go live pretty soon in the next couple of weeks. No matter what page you are on the Brockport OER website, it's on the left-hand side and it's in the center. Click. If you need help, click here. And so I think it's really important, if anyone is going forward with this, that you can't bury the get help from a librarian. And so again, it's on the left-hand side and it's in the center of the screen, no matter what page. Once you go off the page, because some of your pages reference like Ohio or something like that, which has a lot of good information, you kind of lose the get help from the librarian button. But I would really highly recommend it, because I think we're overloaded with information right now, and people get frustrated and it's very easy to walk away. But as I was doing recording the other day of live screen capturing of our website on OER, I was noticing that ask for help. I can't remember the name of the button, but it was like, consult a librarian was like everywhere. And I'm like, wow, this is really great, because it's everywhere. So if you get frustrated, you just hit the button and you can immediately get help.
So I'm going to bring this together by saying, by really asking the question out there to everyone, and that is, you're seeing some of the ways that our faculty are moving OER into open pedagogy and out into other kinds of avenues, but we really want to ask the next generation, how will our students be going beyond OER? So as they're getting out into the world and into their professions, we want to make sure they are aware of what the unlock symbol is, what open access truly means, and how they can use it in their as they're going forward. We're seeing them creating assignments that other people will be building on, non-disposable assignments. heard about a wonderful independent study that I'm looking forward to hearing. That I think that's a wonderful example where where students are involved in the creation of information. And so we really want to ask everyone, how will your students be going beyond OER? We have obviously, if anyone has follow-up questions or is interested in knowing more about any of these efforts, we really encourage you to email any one of us, contact any one of us. We're more than happy to describe what our efforts are and where we see things going in the future. We're happy to talk to you about what you've been doing and how you're moving things forward as well. I want to thank you all for being part of this at this point, and I'm going to ask folks to unmute. We have some time for questions, so please feel free to ask a question in chat or just unmute and ask.
I'll unmute just to kind of share my comment in the chat. I love examples from this presentation, but from all the things that I've heard this week of times where people are really involving their students in the process. And, you know, we don't do OER, we don't implement OER just for the cost savings. There are so many other benefits. And when students can be involved in the curation of materials, the contribution of additional resources to the class, all kinds of things, creating the textbook together. I just think it's a great thing, and it helps the students to understand a little bit more about how to source that kind of content too. It expands their digital literacy. So I really appreciate all of your contributions today, the examples that you shared.
Well, stay tuned because stay tuned. I know that there is more coming, and there's certainly lots of other folks who have been, again, as I said, all of the developments coming forward in terms of artificial intelligence and OER only promise even more interesting developments. And I think that's going to really open up the doors even wider in terms of possibilities and how some of the ways that people are really moving some of these things in different directions. So stay tuned.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. AI is going to afford us a whole wealth of challenges and opportunities, I think, along the way, for sure. We heard a presentation yesterday about using AI. It's a simulation situation for mental health counseling students so that they can interact with the AI. The AI is sort of acting as the client, the patient. And I think that's fascinating for teacher education too, and many other disciplines. So. Great. Okay. Thank you for those questions or those comments in the chat as well, and all the resources that you shared. I will share the slides with the recording so folks can get those links that you have in there. That'll be great as well. I'm going to go ahead and post a couple links in the chat to wrap us up and make sure everybody can access our recordings. All right, so the first link is to our Open Ed Week event website, and that lists all the presentations for the week, has a link to the recordings. The second link is just directly to get to our YouTube channel with the playlist for Open Ed Week, along with a lot of our webinar series there. And the last one is for Open Ed Week global events that are hosted by OE Global. OE Global hosts events internationally, and SUNY Online is promoted on their website. So we really appreciate that partnership with them every year for Open Ed Week. And I would encourage you to take a look at some additional activities that they are offering this week as well. Tomorrow is our last session at 2:30 in the afternoon, so we hope to see you all there. Again, thank you to all of the speakers today, and thank you for the work that you're doing in open education.